Imagine an organism made of pure instruction, designed to replicate itself autonomously until it fills its entire environment. In 1949, mathematician John von Neumann described the logic for this behavior in his lectures on self-reproducing automata. At the time, computers were isolated, house-sized machines. Without a medium to travel through, von Neumann's mechanical organism remained a purely mathematical curiosity. The theory worked on paper, but it was a dormant prophecy. It required a connected world before it could actually exist as a physical process. That world arrived in the 1970s with the ARPANET, the first wide-area network designed to link research institutions across the United States. Because this network was limited to a small group of trusted colleagues, the designers prioritized speed and ease of communication over security. There were no gates or verification protocols. The architecture assumed that any active process moving across the wire was legitimate. This lack of access control turned the ARPANET into a wide-open ecosystem. If someone could engineer von Neumann's organism, the network provided an environment where to roam without restriction. In 1971, BBN programmer Bob Thomas conducted a field test for this kind of software. He called it Creeper. Creeper was a proof-of-concept program designed to jump between DEC PDP-10 computers. Its only function was to print a teletype message, "I'm the Creeper, catch me if you can." To manage the experiment, Ray Tomlinson wrote Reaper. It followed Creeper's path through the ARPANET, replicating itself to find and delete copies of the original program. It was the first instance of automated network containment. By 1979, researchers at Xerox PARC evolved the concept. John Schock and John Hupp began building self-propagating software they called worms. These worms were designed for efficiency. They would travel across the Ethernet network at night, identifying idle workstations and using their free memory to perform distributed tasks like file maintenance. For over a decade, self-replicating code remained a controlled laboratory tool, used by scientists to explore the limits of networked computing. In the early 1980s, the introduction of personal microcomputers moved this technology into the hands of a much larger, younger demographic. In 1982, 15-year-old Rich Skrenta developed Elk Cloner, a program designed to spread via floppy disks on the Apple II. Skrenta used the code to prank his friends, modifying game disks so that on every 50th boot, the computer would suddenly display a poem. This was the first time autonomous code was used to disrupt a user's experience for amusement. In 1983, graduate student Fred Cohen took the experiment back to the laboratory. At a security seminar, he demonstrated a program that could seize control of an entire mainframe system in 5 minutes. Cohen's advisor, Leonard Edelman, saw the biological parallel in how the software infected host systems. He officially labeled the behavior a computer virus. The shift from the lab to the living room was complete. While these early versions were nuisances or academic tests, they proved that software could now spread without any human intervention. In 1986, the Alvi brothers in Pakistan wrote the brain virus for MS-DOS systems. At the time, data moved between machines on 5.25-inch floppy disks. They intended the virus as a security measure. It was designed to protect their medical software from piracy by identifying and slowing down illegal copies. When their infected disks began moving globally, the virus escaped their control. It became the first widespread infestation on personal computers, showing that digital organisms could no longer be contained within a single office or region. Software engineer John McAfee saw the reports of the spreading brain virus and recognized a massive, untapped market. McAfee reverse-engineered Brain to build a utility that could identify and delete it. This counter-program launched the commercial antivirus industry. Brain demonstrated the vulnerability of the global supply chain. A single file on a single disk could now reach any computer on Earth. By 1987, the technical barrier to entry for creating these malicious programs had dropped significantly, while the potential for damage rose. The Jerusalem virus marked a transition into intentional destruction. It was classified as a logic bomb, a program designed to remain silent until a specific trigger condition was met. Jerusalem waited for Friday the 13th. On that date, the virus activated its payload, deleting programs and corrupting files as they were executed. Jerusalem represented a new category of risk. For the first time, self-replicating code was being engineered not for utility, pranks, or protection, but for the sole purpose of damaging user data. Modern cyber threats operate on the same mechanical principles established by the early ARPANET researchers. The Internet still relies on the mobility of processes across a network, creating a constant tension between the need for speed and the requirement for deep system inspection. The code itself has not changed as much as the scale of the world it inhabits. Today, a modern worm can now reach millions of hosts in the time it once took Creeper to reach one. Today, the multi-billion-dollar cybersecurity industry acts as a filter for human intent, attempting to manage the same automated mobility that allows the modern economy to function. Von Neumann's theoretical organism survived and mutated into a permanent feature of our digital infrastructure. It is no longer just a program, it is a direct reflection of the intentions of the people who build it.